G'day there guys, Connie here once again, coming at you with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe and all that stuff, and let's get straight into the stories. Okie dokie, we are on relationships. This one was written by user Tim Bonar, and it's titled, I broke my wife's heart. How do I save my marriage? My wife and I have been married 4 years and together for 6. I love her deeply. However, recently I have developed an infatuation for a woman I work with. I did not cheat and have a strictly work relationship with her. I recognized my feelings as a mere crush, but still felt guilty, and needed to talk about it. About 2 months ago, I posted on a forum, not Reddit, about this woman, and found sympathy. It helped me understand how crushes in a long-term relationship work. A month ago, I came home to my wife having printed my post. She confronted me, and as I was taken by surprise, I didn't really know how to explain myself. I couldn't lie either, so I just apologized to her. She read me my post while crying. I cannot post it entirely here, but basically I said she was, quote, a breath of fresh air, the reason I'm happy to go to work. I wish I could hold her in my arms and know how she smells. I often dream of her. Sometimes I lie down and imagine her in front of me. These were things I was thinking but couldn't say out loud. They were things that could have been written in a diary. They were private thoughts, and I never imagined my wife would read them. In the end, it is just a fantasy. Ever since that day, my wife has barely spoken to me. She refuses to discuss it and won't look at me in the eye the rare time she addresses me. She moved into our guest room. She told me she was getting ready to divorce and would file when she has enough money, and that I shouldn't hope, that I'm free to pursue that woman. I understand why she is hurt, but it's just an infatuation. It's not comparable to the love and history I have for her. How can I get through to her? She told me she never had feelings for another man and that I betrayed her. She won't stay married to a man who yearns for another woman. I told her I would change jobs, but she just said I'll still dream of her. She's completely closed off. What can I do? I apologize for errors. I am stressed and not a native English speaker. His comments about her were quite visceral, so I can totally understand her reaction. Honestly, whether or not this will work will probably vary from couple to couple, but one thing's for sure, they need to talk about it, go into counselling or something like that. Let's go to the comments. Quote, she won't stay married to a man who yearns for another woman. She's already given you your answer. The only way I can see your marriage working out is if your wife gives you a chance, but I don't think she will. She's made up her mind, and I think you need to accept that and prepare yourself for the divorce. Quote, I understand why she is hurt, but it's just an infatuation. It is not comparable to the love and history I have for her. You don't get to decide how hurt she is from this. You betrayed her trust. You put your thoughts out on a public forum for her to find. Just an infatuation. You not only had an inappropriate crush on a coworker, you memorialized it on some forum in basically softcore romance novel style description and left access to it on your computer for your wife to find. Your wife is very hurt. You can keep telling her you love her and the other woman means nothing. You were just being self-indulgent and you are so sorry. If the wife doesn't soften in a few weeks, then your marriage is over. So, have you gotten a new job yet? What have you done to show your wife that you're serious about your marriage and that she's the only one who matters to you? Opie says, she won't let me talk to her or touch her. Sometimes she will leave the room when I come in. She's like a wall. I tried buying her favorite flowers and wrote a card, but she didn't take them. I'm invisible to her. I was looking for jobs when I informed her I would change jobs to avoid the woman, but she told me not to bother as she was leaving. In this economy, I cannot easily risk being unemployed, especially if I will end up divorced. There's an innocent crush, and then there's wanting something to happen between the two of you. Your wife knows this, everybody knows this, and you should know this. You wanted to hold your coworker in your arms, etc., etc. It's not the fact that you have a crush on someone. It happens naturally and is human nature. It's the fact that you have a crush and wanted things to happen between the two of you, and that's what broke your wife's heart. Also, in the first place, if you wanted to keep your thoughts private, you shouldn't have posted it on the internet. Yeah, now for an update, 5 months later. I had forgotten about this post, and I'm back to update, so maybe seeing my stupidity could prevent someone else from making the same mistakes. I cringe when I read today what I wrote months ago, and it seems ridiculous to me that I could have felt this way about another woman. I wrote that I would imagine my former coworker while lying in bed, but in the end, when my wife stopped acknowledging my existence, waking up without seeing her face was just absolute torture. I really took all I had for granted until I almost lost it. So I took some of the advice and decided to court my wife again the hardest I could. Of course, the first step was looking for another job, and it took me a month, but I managed to find a similar position in another enterprise. I did what was suggested of taking over every chore, and she stopped ignoring me, but would simply stare at me with some kind of hostility and go on with her life. I tried flowers, but she would leave them to die. My wife's dominant love language is physical, but I wouldn't dare try touching her, so I went for telling her. I somehow realized it was really the content of what I wrote about the other woman, which obviously when you're in a deep crush is amplified, that really hurt her. I tried engaging her in conversations so we could talk about what was happening to us, but more importantly, what I did to her, but she remained closed off. And so I started writing her letters and would leave them under her pillow. At first, I apologized for everything, for writing the post, for not putting an end to the crush faster, for making her feel like another woman could hold a higher place of importance to me, and for not taking the initiative to change jobs earlier, for making her life hard by creating this situation, which ended in her sleeping in the guest room of her own house, for making her cry and causing stress to her. Then I wrote her love letters telling her how much I loved her, how the crush couldn't compare to the deep love I have for her. I was chewed out for saying I loved her because of our history in my last post, but I was misunderstood. I meant that the love I have for her has gotten stronger with time. 5 years ago I loved her, but wouldn't have given her one of my organs if she needed, for example, while now I would, without hesitation. Our history is what caused the attachment to grow stronger, therefore no random crush could override that. I was awed in front of my crush and wrote sappy things about her, but in the end I do not know this woman on a personal level, while I've seen the worst of my wife, and the love remains. I told her how beautiful she was and how impressed and proud I was with her development as a person since we have met, how grateful I was for her presence in my life and every single thing I was thankful for that she did and enhanced my life, how much I needed her and missed hearing her tell me how her day went, laughing at my bad jokes, and basically just missed hearing the sound of her voice. This is a small sample, but it must have taken a good 3 weeks of daily letters until she answered me back. She answered with a letter of her own, telling me how much I've hurt her with my crush, how I made her feel invisible next to that woman, how I never told her such loving words until the letters, how much she hated me, but also how she loved me and missed me too. Her letter allowed me to feel her vulnerability. After reading it, I cried and went to see her. We locked eyes. She cried and we held each other for a long time. She started talking to me again then and softened. Honestly, the possibility of the marriage ending just like that scared the both of us. As of today, we are, to my surprise, mostly back to normal, and actually, I feel closer to her. We continue with the letters, which have helped increasing our emotional intimacy. I make an effort to tell and show her my love. I'm very grateful that she's given me a second chance, and even more so that she has decided to put the crush behind us. We had maybe 2 fights since, but she hasn't brought it up and doesn't punish me. It really wasn't the crush on itself, but how I went about it and the lack of affection from my part in comparison. Maybe I'm being optimistic here, but I truly think we're going to get through this. We'll be going to couples counselling after our vacation just to make sure things are really settled between us. One comment says, "It's nice how hard you're trying. The thing you need to continue to work on is not stopping this once you have got her completely back. For me, I would never get over what you said. I would have filed for divorce immediately. I'm glad things are working out for you though." He says, "Thank you, I do not plan on stopping. I realize I wasn't putting enough work into my marriage before." Yeah buddy, save the letters, and when you have a fight or you forget how much you love her, you break that crap out and remind yourself. I would kill or die to see my late wife again for even 1 second. Treasure her, and don't mess up again. Yeah, good advice. I think it was pretty telling when he said that she'd never heard him say such loving words. I kinda understand how it hurt her so much. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, that's it from that story, and we'll move on to the next. Okie dokie, we're over on Am I the A-Hole? This one was written by user Dense Entrance, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for contacting my ex's fiancé without his consent? I, 30 female, was engaged to Anthony, 32, 4 years ago. Our relationship ended for a number of reasons, but we'd been together since high school. We did not have the best ending, and there was a lot of hurt. I moved across the country when I moved out of our shared home. We cut contact following our split and have remained no contact ever since. We have mutual friends still, so I occasionally receive updates about his life, and I'm sure he receives the same. 5 years ago, Anthony's mother, Liz, passed away after a long illness, and because we were engaged, Liz had given me a letter and a wrapped gift that she wanted me to give to Anthony on our wedding day. It was not specific to our wedding day, but since she knew she would not be there, she decided I should be the one to do it. She asked me to just keep it between us. She did not want her ex-husband or other kids to know. 8 months later, when we actually called off the wedding, I'd forgotten about these items as I had stored them in my childhood bedroom for safekeeping, and in the midst of moving across the country, I left the items behind, which I am aware was careless. Fast forward to now, and I recently learned that Anthony is engaged to Beth, 30s, and my first thought was that I'm really happy for them and wish them all the best. I then was thinking about our cancelled wedding and his mum. I really loved her like a second mum, and I was struck with the sinking feeling that I still had the letter and gift from her, and that I'd never returned it to the family. I then remember Liz asking me not to share it with her other children or ex-husband, and while I was unsure of the exact reason, I think it's because she had done the same for her other children, but I'm not sure who was holding on to their letters and gifts. I brought it up to my husband and explained how guilty I felt about still having these things, and I just did not know what to do. Together, we talked through all the different options. I could have called him, but felt it would ruin the surprise on the actual wedding day, which is what his mum wanted. I could have contacted a sibling, but then I feel like it would have ruined their surprise since they're not married yet. I thought about relatives, but I just don't know who. I settled on Beth. It just felt right that Liz wanted it to come from his soon-to-be wife. I reached out to her via social media DM and wrote her an extensive letter detailing what I've stated above. I told her she could do with this information what she wanted, but that I would be in my hometown next month and would love to get these items to her. Apparently, this was the wrong thing to do. She told Anthony about my message, and he is ticked that I reached out to her. He says I have no business contacting his fiancée. I'm torn now because I was honestly just trying to honour his mother's wishes and return the items to their rightful owner. I really felt like I was doing the right thing for everyone. Geez, yeah, I mean, the relationship might have ended badly, but come on, it's been, 4 years? Just let her return the gift from his mother. How hard can it be? One comment says, "Was it a bad breakup?" She says, "It was not great. I'd gotten a job in another city. We both agreed that I should take it, and then he decided at the last minute he didn't want us to go. I ultimately decided to go anyway, and he thought I would stay. He was very angry I did not stay. His version of events is usually that I left him right after his mother died." Replying to a downvoted commenter, Opie says, quote, "Bringing up his dead mum and talking behind his back to his fiancée are pretty terrible things to do when you could have sent those items to him. I guess I figured I could give her the choice to share these things with him on their wedding day instead of robbing him of that moment. I still feel like it was her choice how to go about it since it was intended to be given by the bride at the wedding. This was his mother's intention. Quote, "Because if it were really important for you to deliver them because you want to honour his mum, you would not have forgotten about it until it was convenient to you." We called off our wedding and I moved 3 days later. I've only been home to my home state one time since that day, and it was for my brother's wedding, so I did not go to my parents' home where my old bedroom has boxes of things from my cancelled wedding, including my wedding dress. I met my husband a few weeks after I moved, and we got married during the pandemic, so I've not had a ton of time to think about my ex. It was his engagement that made me think about Liz, and then about the gift, and the realization that it was tucked in one of those boxes that I left years ago. Why not just mail the package? I honestly would not have known where to mail it. I did not know where they live, and I did not want to ask any mutual friends because I honestly wanted to keep them out of it. I wanted it to be Beth's decision. Why not tell the ex-fiancée herself or give it to his family? I know I could have reached out to him or his siblings, but not without spoiling his mum's plans. She wanted him to have it on his wedding day from his wife. I was trying to honour her wishes. I thought about all the possible scenarios and chose the one I thought most reflected what his mum would have wanted and also gave everyone a choice. If I told him, it ruins that moment between them. If I told a sibling, it steals their future moment. If I told his dad, I risked him not knowing about any of this and not following through. I thought about his mum's sister, but I'm not sure what the status of that relationship is. The only person I could think of that was in a position to not cause all that collateral damage is the person who was in my former position when the gift and letter were handed over. She clarifies the letter wasn't written for her but her ex-fiancé. No, she wrote her son a letter when he was a little boy that he was to open on his wedding day. She planned to give it to him herself, but knew she was not going to make it, so she gave it to me to share with him, with instructions to give it to him at our planned first look. I was not in the position to question a dying woman. I also thought I would be marrying her son, so it seemed like a simple talk. I never thought I'd be in the position of having to pass it on to someone else to give him, but here I am. She elaborates on the move and when the ex told her he wouldn't go. So we were planning the move together before she got sick, since we both originally wanted to get out of our hometown and move to our current city. We put those plans on hold when his mum got sick, and I waited until he was ready to restart our plans before pursuing a job in said city. It was 8 months between his mother's passing and the move. It was 4 months after that he told me he was ready to start the process. He also had a job lined up, but worked for his family business in our hometown, so he could give up the new job without an issue, whereas I had already quit my job. I get that I'm the one that moved, but he is really the one that ended the relationship by changing everything 3 days before we were set to move. I'm not saying he's to blame, but your interpretation of what happened is far from reality. And he told me 4 days before we were set to move that he wasn't going. I was going because I was starting a new job a week later, and we had given up our apartment, and I signed a lease in my new city. We went to bed that night, and I asked him if he would ever join me the next day. He said probably not, so I told him that I think the relationship is over, and we need to call off the upcoming wedding, 3 months away. He was very upset, and he left to stay at his dad's house. The movers arrived the next day. They took my stuff, and I stayed at a hotel near the airport that night for my early flight. I boarded the plane, and I've not been back except to attend my brother's wedding, which was not in my hometown, so I did not return to my parents' home. Geez, talk about a melancholy plane flight. Okay, OP updates, 5 days later. In case anyone is interested in an update to this story. So I heard from Anthony again over the weekend, but this time it was a phone call, which I was very surprised about. We've not spoken a word to each other since the day we broke up. Well, he was at a get-together with friends on Saturday, and he was still pretty angry about my reaching out to Beth. He was telling some of the partygoers about the interaction, and that I should never have reached out to her. The following is what he told me about their interaction to the conversation. I guess the people he was talking to, not friends I've kept in touch with, thought that he was overreacting. They told him that it sounded like I was trying to fix a mistake that I made and did not mean any harm. So then his best friend Mike asked him why he was really angry. Anthony said this got him thinking about his reasoning, and he realized he wasn't actually mad about my contact with Beth, but the fact that 4 years ago, I actually moved and cut contact. He said that when he decided not to move, he was sure I would change my mind, and that when I left it was a total shock to his system, and he was really angry with me. I acknowledged that the way I left was terrible, but also implored him to take responsibility that he completely blindsided me and left me with very few options. He apologized for this and for his anger, and I apologized for leaving and cutting contact. I let him know the dates I will be in town, and I would happily send the items to them if he gave me his address. Instead, he asked if he could come to pick them up, which I said is fine. Overall, it was a good conversation that I'm glad we had. I doubt we will ever be friends, but I'm glad we seem to be at peace with each other. And some final comments. I mean, the outcome is pretty decent, but I'm so frustrated by this because the real story is that this fool agreed to move with Opie for a new job, backed out 3 days in advance and expected her to just drop it. At that point, you've definitely given notice at your current job and secured housing in the new location and emotionally gotten ready for a major life change, and is then mad at her and tells himself and everyone else that she abandoned him. I'm so mad at this person, I don't and will never know. Ugh, the internet. I'm kinda shocked she calls her moving away like that agreed, until he changed his mind out of nowhere only a few days beforehand, a terrible thing to do. Kinda shocked, but kind of not. Really, that sort of thing would be a big deal breaker for me. Yeah, agreed. She's definitely being a bit hard on herself, but I'm glad they were able to figure it out. Anyway guys, as always, I'm going to throw it over to you. Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, that's it from me today. Hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.